Maybe don't know.
This time, next time to build. This 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 time power. This time to build power. This time to build power. This time to build power.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Chris Hampton.
And I'm Dru Mack.
Back again.
Whoop, whoop.
You are, other than Nate, the most heard voice on the podcast.
Yeah, dude. I'm coming for all them listens. Trying to beat out Sasha. Get, page views.
Trying to take Nate's spot.
I could take Nate's spot.
He's coming for you, Nate.
I'm coming for you.
Watch yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
So you and I have been here. You've been injured here in Lander for
Correct.
a little while. So
Correct.
we've been working on some things. And that's led us down this road of talking a lot about endurance.
Yeah.
And I feel like endurance in climbing is this massively misunderstood thing as of late, which is funny because I think it was fairly well understood years ago. And now that people are applying more and more science to it, it's becoming less and less understood.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I always grew up like more is more, but now it seems less is more.
Yeah. And it can be. I mean, there's a time to do less.
Yeah.
But there's also a time to do more, do a lot more, and get really, really pumped.
Savagely pumped.
Yeah, because it's going to happen.
100%.
So I've heard several coaches, trainers talk about how the pros don't actually get pumped. Is that the case? You're a pro.
No.
You're professional.
I get pumped all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no way. Yeah, I mean, like at any level, you're going to get pumped, and it's like maintaining or, learning how to climb through the pump, not getting pumped. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, nobody would ever fall if they never got pumped.
Yeah, and it's not a bad idea to try and learn how to climb harder and harder grades without getting pumped, but if you're pushing your limits, you're going to start getting pumped.
Yeah, there's no doubt, unless you're just bouldering or,
Yeah, I mean, even if we look at J-Star's one of the best endurance climbers in the country, for sure.
Without a doubt.
And just recently he talked about, I don't even know how hard the route he did just recently was 15B. Is that right?
Planta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he talked about being
tooth and nail for that
massively pumped.
Yeah.
And fighting through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to happen.
It's going, yeah. You'll get pumped.
Yeah.
It happens to every sport climber every single day that you're out there, I imagine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you're a Red River climber and because you're kind of the de facto endurance expert on planet Earth.
God. Joke.
That's what we're going to talk about today, is just some of your tips and tricks, some of your thoughts around both training endurance and climbing through the pump and making friends with endurance, essentially, making friends with the pump, because you're going to have to shake hands now and then if you want to climb hard.
Dance with the devil.
So let's start off with this blog you just recently wrote. You wrote about viewing endurance like a stoplight, like a green light, yellow light, red light situation. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was something that I kind of, thought of, I've heard of maybe before, I don't know, years ago with my own climbing, my own training, and then also working with other people. If you see things, I basically started it with like the idea of redlining, and I just took that word that people use and took that color, which is red, whatever.
Oh, you thought you were clever.
Not clever at all. It just makes sense, So then you work with that, and I saw being in the green zone as being kind of like you're moving, you're climbing, but you could do that level for a long time. People have scientific words for that. Anaerobic, aerobic. I know some of those, but not very well.
Okay.
I like
we'll talk
colors.
about those things a
Colors
little
are cooler. Then yellow is like, you're moving, you're feeling it, you're like, it's getting hot.
Yeah.
And the red, you're getting blasted. You're like, and I always found that like if you could stay in the yellow, then you can get back to the green.
Yeah.
On a rest, if you go into red, if you're redlining and then you get to the biggest jug in the world in the red, you may not be able to recover there because you're so far, you're so far pumped and you're so far chest beating out of your heart. Everything is just on 10 that it's really hard to calm that down. So a big part for me wasn't just like getting to rest, but it was getting to rest well, efficiently, so that I could recover enough to then, get back into the green before I went again.
Yep. How often do you actually get back into the green? Or is it more often that you just get to a lower level of yellow?
You just get to a lower level of yellow, unless there's a no hands rest. And then I normally stay until I'm green.
Yeah. So let's talk about green a little bit. Green is the aerobic zone where your blood
That's a big range too,
Well, it can be.
Yeah, it can be. Yep.
And kind of the goal of endurance, part of endurance training, is expanding that green zone,
100%.
Making it bigger, making it so that 5'10" used to be your green zone, and eventually you want 5'11" to be that green zone, 5'12" to be that green zone. If you're,
it would even start at like 5'6".
Sure.
Where you're just like able to hang on anything, whether it's slab or whatever.
You hang on slab.
Hanging.
I stand on slab.
When I was a little
hanging on, it's harder.
Yeah, definitely. That's a weird campusing slab.
That's why your chest is all scraped up.
It's great endurance training. When I was a little kid, me and my buddy Christian would traverse like this tower feature at our gym, and we would say, whoever falls off first has to buy the other one a Cliff Bar or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, just...
Should have picked like
whatever.
A donut or something.
Yeah, sure.
Cliff Bars back then were nasty.
We didn't have money either. So we would be on there for an hour, and because the climbing was super easy and there's rests, and we would just like kick it as little kids, but or Ninja Warrior each other off, throwing kicks and stuff. But that was like the first taste of like green, where you're just like, you're climbing for a while, but you're comfortable and you're chilling. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you were getting to the point where you're falling off and getting pumped and falling off, you're going way past the
Correct.
green.
You're going way past there.
Too.
But
but over time, you just got
able
to stay on the wall
over
longer.
time, you would make it 15 minutes and then 30 and then an hour, and then we would both, look at each other and say, all right, we're gonna be here all day, so we're gonna step off at the same time, and then we try to trick each other, get the other one to step off first.
So there's kind of a popular, what I think is a misconception in endurance training, that if you go to the point of failure because of pump, then you've ruined any aerobic adaptation you're going to get because you've gone too far. And what you're saying is you would traverse to failure, and somehow you were able to stay on longer the next time, and longer the next time, and longer the next time.
Yeah, I mean, we were kids, so even at that point, failure might not have been failure, or it was, or, we were just goofing off.
Yeah.
But spending that amount of time on the wall, especially with somebody else, just made it easier to like keep pushing how long we were on the wall.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the common sense way to approach it. And I've seen that work over and over and over and over with hundreds of people.
Yeah. My biggest breakthroughs came, when I got out of school and I lived in the red, and I just lived at the Undertow and the Madness Cave. And there I would get savagely pumped on a route, and a couple tries I would do it, and then I'd move on to the next one, and then get savagely pumped on that, and then do it and move on to the next one. You know? So
And I do think there is some value in like arc style training, something like that, that's more aerobic, where you're staying below below kind of a moderate pump. The idea behind it is to increase pressure on the capillary walls, build a more dense network of capillaries that can carry oxygen, so that you're increasing your ability to move blood, move oxygen.
Correct.
Which is why you have the pipes that you have. Your forearms are Instagram famous.
Maybe genetics play part too.
Maybe, but
Who knows?
You've built this network of capillaries in your forearms. You've built the ability to carry all that blood.
Big bang.
And so I do think there is some value in arc style training.
Totally.
But I don't think it's as black and white as coaches, trainers today are making it out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that there's a level of that's really important for what you're talking about within our muscles, within our blood, how things travel, but then also just spending time on the wall and becoming comfortable is really important.
Exactly.
And being comfortable when you're fatigued is like being comfortable at all levels of wherever you're climbing at is super important. And then just having an understanding of like, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Like, I would never tell somebody to get on the wall for 3 hours, because you're never going to do that, unless you're climbing big,
be more specific.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. For specific goals, you just do the specific things, in my opinion.
And I think you hit the nail on the head
with
the get comfortable. If you take two people, let's look at J-Star versus new climber in the gym. This is his third day in, and he's really psyched on training and wants to get stronger.
Big difference between those two.
Yeah, big difference. And if J-Star does some aerobic style training, he can push to the point where he could fall off just because of pump, because he's extra comfortable being pumped. He can manage it really well. He can climb through it really, really well.
Yep.
This guy over here, who has never been really pumped, as soon as he gets pumped, his technique goes to shit. He falls off if he doesn't just step off the wall because of the discomfort. So he never gets to that level that he needs to be
Well,
at.
you can hurt yourself too, which I think a big part of like arcing and things like that, of getting comfortable and focusing on technique when you are tired, is super important.
Yeah, but I also think you have to push into that really fatigued, really pumped zone to understand how to climb in it. And if you never get there, if all you're ever doing is arcing at a low level, you can go out, and the minute you get pumped, you're going to fucking fall off because you've never been there before.
I've done everything with pyramid. I've done everything by building bases, by doing what's before the next thing, by grades, by time on the wall, by moves on the wall. I've built a base of like climbing everything, and for my sport climbing. And, I think that you can't go from arcing to getting savagely pumped in 60 moves. Those are massively different things, and you're missing a lot in between there. It'd be like trying to do 12A to 13A, like maybe you can, but there's a big chance that things go wrong, or you get hurt, or your technique goes downhill, or whatever it is. So I think there's room for all of those things that you're talking about, but there's middle ground too, There's a difference between arcing and getting savagely pumped, and there's a lot in between that too.
Do you have a favorite way that you move people who you're working with, who you're coaching, from that I've never really been pumped, or I've only gotten pumped on accident, and I don't really understand how to be in that zone, into getting comfortable in an upper yellow zone? So I mean, I think a lot of that for me is building
based on time or based on moves is how I would recommend people. I've always recommended people do that. So, if you have like a circuit board or something like that, increasing the amount of time that you spend on it. And, like maybe start by doing 5 minutes where you're not pumped, and then doing 6 minutes and you're starting to feel a little bit more. And do 7 minutes, but then maybe back it down to 5 minutes and do harder climbing. So like I try to get people to, build up to being on the wall for 10 minutes where it's really easy, but you can't forget about doing 2 minutes where it's more difficult.
Yep.
So finding both ends of that kind of spectrum, I'd say, is really, really important. I don't want you to just be moving for 10 minutes because that might not help you on your route. But moving for 2 minutes that's really hard might not help you in sending a 120-foot route either.
Right.
So, going back to just what I said, is just like there's a lot of middle ground. A lot of times for me it's, thinking about what you need, working on your strengths, but also working on your weaknesses.
Yeah. So you talk a lot about being specific in your endurance.
Yeah.
So let's say you've got this goal route that's 40 moves.
Yep.
Do you see benefit in that person training at 60 to 80 moves and also at 10 to 15 moves? Or should they only stay in that 40 move zone?
I think that the meat of it should be in the 40. Train for what you want to do, but then there's room on both sides of that as well. So yes, you shouldn't miss 20 moves because that's going to give you the power endurance to, a lot of times in the red at least, go from rest to rest. A lot of times, 40 to 60 moves is really important because that's going to get you from, checkpoint to checkpoint. Or less than that even. 20 moves is checkpoint to checkpoint. A lot of times the routes in the red are 60 moves. You break that into 3 sections. You need to be able to do 20 hard moves, recover, and in that recovery time, that's where being on the wall for 10 minutes comes in.
And I would say looking at somebody's it does.
Yeah.
And I would say looking at somebody's long-term development, as a coach, I see lots of people who have a goal route, but they're also interested in just becoming a better climber over years and years. And I get to work with them for that time. So I would say I agree with you. However, I would urge people not to fall in the trap of always being super specific to the route they want to do at that time.
100%. Yeah.
Train on either end and in the middle. And 100%. Then when you have that big goal and you're closing in on it, get more and more specific to that goal.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of times, like, your goal is your training. Like, when you get out to your route, like, that's part of your training. That's part of doing that. So, if I was climbing on Southern Smoke and doing 60 power endurance moves, like if I went into the gym every day and did 60 power endurance moves, I'd be so in a hole because I'd just be beating the same systems over and over and over again.
Totally.
I would be doing the same exact thing and I would just be tired all the time. So you have to consider the time you spend outside or time on projects as part of that training as well in a way, and focus on the other things, so that not the same thing is getting tired.
Yeah, and to know that, you have to have put in quite a bit of volume over quite a bit of time so that you can build the awareness to understand while you're climbing on Southern Smoke, you might be pumping off, but you have the experience and the awareness to understand that it's because these moves down here at, bolt 4 were hard for me. And if they weren't quite as hard, if I could gain a little power, not have to work as hard for those moves, then I'll save some energy for move 40 where I'm pumping off.
And that's where when I have a project, I'll spend time in the gym bouldering and getting my power up because I want those moves to feel easier. But then I'm also climbing on the project and getting pumped, and then climbing on other things, little side projects or mini projects, or, it's nice to go out at the beginning of the season and clip chains on a route or 2 or 3.
Build some momentum.
That's endurance as well. Whenever you send a route and you get the chains pumped, that's a that's a great setup for whatever you want to do next.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Can you climb in the red zone or in the red light area? Is it automatic failure when you get there, or
No, I don't think so.
Can you learn to climb in that zone?
I think you can, but it's a rare thing, and a lot of times I think that feels like we pulled something out of our ass, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and everyone has that story
Yeah.
where it's just like, don't know how I got there. Like everything kind of went black, but somehow I got to the jug, and you know, I got to that no hands, or I got to that knee bar, and I was able to calm down enough to, like, you know, whether calm down to just finish it out, or maybe now I'm at the anchors, you know?
Yep.
It doesn't happen often, but it's a good feeling when you get through.
Yeah, and I think you have to give yourself that chance to
100%.
know how to do it. You know, you and I have both experienced these
Yep.
moments on route where you're in the red, not the Red River Gorge, you're redlining.
Yeah.
And you are in the Red River Gorge
Yeah.
and you're redlining, and
Called the red.
and you
That's
think you're going to fall off,
why. Uh-huh.
but you know, because you've trained it, because you've practiced it on other routes, on other projects, that if you just commit to making the next few moves, you might just stick
Yep.
and you might get to that jug.
Yep. And I've had
and
that
then you've
battle.
got enough to bring it back down slightly into the yellow and finish the route.
It's checkpointing, you know, it's about knowing what's ahead of you, being confident in what's ahead of you. If you watch any video of me, you know, I'll get to rest and I'll recover. And as soon as you know, you flip that switch where it's like being chilling and being comfortable. And a lot of times before I'm even making a move, I'm firing myself up, whether it's a little grunt or a yell, or, you know, it's go time. And that's really hard. That can be hard to switch modes like that. But then, you know, you're fighting, you know, and the mental aspect of that is so close to the physical. I remember getting through the main crux of Zulu in rifle and getting to like the red point crux, and there's like the slopey jug. You're at the second to last bolt, and I got there for the first time, and a lot of people fall on that next section. It's quite hard. And as soon as I got there, I was like, I'm too pumped to do this.
Right.
And I think we talked about this last summer, actually. And that's like, you know, having those negative conversations with yourself takes you completely out of the game. And I had to sit there for a minute and just be like, all right, no, like you're going to just chill here. You're going to shake out. Whether you recover enough to climb this section or you don't, and you're just shaking out to shake out, that's going to help you prepare for the next time you're here.
Yep.
You know, so that's something I encourage a lot of people is, you know, even if you don't think you're going to make the next section, just try to shake out, try to recover, see what you can get back. If you start going back down, you know, if you're getting more pumped, then take off and try, you know. But if you don't put yourself in that situation physically and mentally, then you're not going to overcome it either.
Yeah, totally. And that's the basis of all learning, is if you don't put yourself in the situation, you're never going to learn it.
Yeah.
Period. You know. So I hear a lot of people who are either new to sport climbing or new to training, especially, they'll send their first 12A, they'll start training, they'll train for a season, then they go out to their project and they're like, well, I tried this 12C today and I got really pumped. The training didn't work. And I'm like,
you're crazy.
Pumped has nothing to do with whether the training works. You're going to get pumped.
Yeah.
You know, you were trying a route that's harder than you've ever tried and you got pumped.
Yep. There's
Great.
a massive transition period with every single trip that I've ever had. Other people transition really fast. They can go from, you know, their training indoors and performing outside really quickly. Buddy Eric does a great job of that.
Yeah.
I don't as well. I need some time to like learn the route I want to do, practice it, you know, memorize it.
Yeah. And you understand that you're still going to get pumped. You're still going to get fatigued.
Always.
When you're climbing long, hard
Yeah,
routes.
I mean, unless it's like something that you're doing on your first or second try, like even then you're going to get, most likely will get quite tired. If it's a physical, power endurance route, you know, like you're going to get pumped, fatigued. Yeah.
So,
and I encourage people to do that too. Like, don't just get in the project mindset, because then, you miss out on flashing and on-sighting is something that I've missed a lot, especially growing up in the Red. I've tried those routes, a bunch of times. I've done them or whatever. And, that fight on your first try is really, really good for you.
Yeah.
It's something you see all the pros do. They all have impressive, or at some point go on a flashing trip or on-site trip, and just like being able to push through when you're tired and don't know what to do can really help you push through when you do know what to do.
Yep. For sure. You've multiple times talked about recovery, and you and I both believe that that's a massively important part of endurance climbing.
Yeah.
Knowing how to recover.
Yeah.
When you were kind of coming up in the Red, and you see people camping at rests in the Red all the time. Yeah. When you first tried to stop and shake out, was that a different experience than it is now for you shaking out?
It's it's gone the opposite way, actually. When I was a kid, I climbed so slow. Yeah. So slow.
When I was 40, I climbed so slow.
Yeah. I'm the opposite, I'd say now. Yeah, I mean, I just like grew up, because of, I think, that time where we were just traversing in the gym, and I was climbing every day, and, I just learned that I could maintain and stay yellow for a long time if I just kind of like shook out and chilled out and, went through a bag of chalk for 30 feet. Ask Lee. I climbed so slow. And then more recently in the last couple of years, I've learned, time on the wall, time under tension is like real. And as I get into harder routes, like I can't stop and shake out as much. There are a bunch of routes where I needed to climb them fast. And so I had dedicated practice to climbing faster. And that was like, you clean a route and you're like back leading in a way, or free snaking, and just like climbing it as fast as possible. Things like actual practice of doing that made me be able to climb faster now, more efficiently. So yeah, as a kid, it was just natural for me to shake out. But I do know a lot of people who struggle with like stopping and relaxing and chilling out and then knowing when to go. Yeah. And that's a difficult thing to learn. It's something that takes so much practice. And even sometimes now, like last fall, I was sending Pure Imagination and I was about to leave the rest, and I was like, am I ready? I don't know if I'm ready yet. Like, should I go? And a lot of times that's just nerves, we're just anxious. But yeah, now it's just like, get to a spot you're comfortable being and try to calm everything down and just chill out, breath down, heart rate down,
And your first time doing it, you may not get a ton back.
No.
You watch experienced climbers, especially endurance climbers, get to a rest, they shake out. 2 minutes later, they start moving again, and it looks like they were never pumped.
Yep. Or you feel great at a rest, and then you make 2 moves and you're thrashed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it can go millions of ways,
Yeah, but you have to, again, practice that. Yep. Put yourself in those situations.
I see a lot of people pumped, and they know that they can't make it to the next bolt, so they just take.
Yep.
And that's fine, especially if you're learning a route, if you're just going bolt to bolt to figure it out. But then as you're starting to like kind of get into it and trying to red point, I really encourage people, like, even if you are going to take, just try to shake out for a minute, shake out for a little bit and just see if you can find a comfortable spot. And that's something I've done in clinics and things like that, is like, just go get on the wall and be comfortable. Yep. Like, be in comfortable positions. Learn just to slow your heart rate down and be in a spot where you can say, I'm just gonna be here for a minute, Yeah. Whether I get anything back or not, whether I move after that or not, whether I take after that or not, just like putting yourself in that situation is really important.
Yeah, and I think in those early days, be patient with it.
Yep.
You know, if you get to the stance and you shake out for 30 seconds and you're like, I'm not getting anything back, you know, you're still at a stance.
Yep.
So if you can stay there and
Yep.
see what happens.
Yep.
You know, be patient with it. I've had a lot of people who want to get better at recovering, and then they'll get to a jug, they'll shake out for 30 seconds, and they're like, I'm not getting anything back. I got to go.
Yep.
And I'm like, you've been there 30 seconds. Let's stay there for 5 minutes, see what happens.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
maybe that's too long. Maybe it's not.
Yep.
But you don't know until you've tried it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
and I'll put a timer on people and say, how long have you been there? It's got to be 5 minutes. Like, no, you've been there 45 seconds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So learn to be patient.
Yeah, and check in with yourself. You know, check in with what's happening. You know, how you feel. Are you nervous? Are you scared? Are you breathing really heavily? Can you slow your heart rate? You know, are you putting chalk on your hands? You know, things like that.
Do you have little tips and tricks that you do when you're at rests?
Yeah.
To make them more effective for you?
If I'm on a jug that I'm like comfortable on, you know, first of all, I like to clip. Like clipping up is something that people don't really talk about, but like clip up. You know, even if it means go up a move or two and clip. Like that way, when you leave the rest, you're okay. That's where I would start.
Clip up, come back down to the jug.
Yeah.
Shake out some more.
Shake out.
Yep.
When you leave the jug, now you don't have to worry about that clip.
Yep.
I sometimes will close my eyes if it's a good spot. I'm just trying to, you know, shake my arms a little bit, not aggressively. I'm not trying to like get too amped up or anything. I'm trying to calm everything down. You know, I'll play some songs in my head. I'll sing. You know, distractions can be important. My friend Margarita will, you know, ask somebody to talk to her. She'll like talk to somebody on the ground, or just ask somebody to tell her something, you know, tell me a story. You know, little conversations with myself, little mantras, little pep talks. You know, try hard, have fun is kind of like a major mantra, or just like kind of give it your all, or kind of things like that. Yeah, Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. That's a joke. I don't know that song, but I think it goes something like shake shake it off, shake. I can't do that.
This is your debut.
Yeah, and Ghostface Killer, man. We'll switch sides there for a sec. Yeah, there's just a lot, you know. I mean, a lot of that's just practice. I try to have little things in my head, but a lot of times it's just like calm down. I'll put my hand on my chest and feel my heart rate.
Not both hands though. Don't do that.
Don't let go. And then a lot of times there's something I tell everybody. I'm gonna start paying for this. No, I'm joking. Everybody wants to, and myself included, wants to leave a rest before you're ready. Yeah. You know, like you rush. And it's because we're impatient. Yeah. We're so impatient just as like human beings, you know. We're like always racing to get places in our daily lives and when we're climbing, you know. It's like not a race. It's not like, you know, I'm not like my belayer doesn't care how long I sit in this no hands or how long I shake out in this jug. You know, like people leave, I see it in no hands rest all the time, and it drives me insane because people will sit there for 1 minute when you've been on the wall for 5 minutes flamed, you're not recovered, you know, and then they're leaving. And so when I coach or even with myself, whenever I'm ready to go, I wait another minute. And that's just my way of being, you know, like my head is normally ready to go before my body is. Yep. And that gives me like a little bit more time to just kind of calm down, give myself a little bit longer. I mean, really, I don't like set timers, like in no hands rest, set timers, like make yourself rest that long. Yep. You know? Yeah. I was at Drive By with Daniel Woods and Greg Kersner. Yeah. And if you look on Daniel's 8A on his supercharger comments, he says something like, Greg Kersner still listens to Blink 182 or something like that. And that's because Greg had an iPod up on the ledge
with a playlist on it.
Yeah.
That was a timed rest
Oh,
to
cool.
force him to sit there long enough.
Yeah.
And he would just listen to that whole playlist, and then he was ready to go. And Daniel did the same thing. He listened to Greg's playlist, apparently Blink-182, probably Taylor Swift too.
Yeah.
And
for sure Greg's listening.
and then
to Taylor
did the route.
Swift. Well, I mean, I just made those playlists for, for endurance climbing, but I could definitely, you could use those for resting too.
Yeah. No hands rests.
Yeah.
Spotify timers.
Yeah, exactly. Put a little Drake on there.
Yeah, I was also going to say that
soothe your soul.
Drake does not soothe my soul.
Yeah, he does.
Some Drake does,
Okay.
not most Drake.
You and
though.
your feelings?
Only when I'm in my feelings does Drake soothe my soul. I don't even have much of a soul left, so it's tough.
I don't believe that for a second.
Speaking of souls, if anyone out
Hey,
there...
can I interrupt this whole conversation for a moment to tell you a rap bar that I really like?
Yeah.
Joey Badass has a line where he says,
how do you listen to Joey Badass and mumble rap at the same time?
chill, man, chill.
Just saying.
I listen because there's a time and place for everything. Yo, mumble rap on full blast in your car, there ain't nothing like that is tight, man. Just like the beat. You're listening to it for the beat.
I'm cutting this part out of the podcast.
Joey has a line that says, I traded my Nikes for a new mic. Guess you could say he traded his souls for a new life. Bars.
Yeah. It would have been more bars if you had just remembered it instead of
Sorry.
having to fight for it.
I thought about it for a while. I was like, oh, shoot, I can't remember. I just didn't want to get it wrong.
Yeah. Gotcha. You got it right.
So the double entendre.
Does it say Nikes for a new mic or Nikes for a new mic?
Yeah, Nikes for a new mic.
Should have said Nikes.
Yeah, but Nikes for a new mic. Guess you could say he traded his souls for a new life.
Just saying.
Souls.
I gotcha.
Jesus.
I gotcha. That's
Mic
like
drop.
red line, red light.
It's dirty. It's not. It's like ICU in the ICU. It's a bar.
All right. Enough bar talk.
Okay, sorry.
So if anybody has climbed Jesus Wept, which I know a lot of
I got
people
sick of class,
listening have.
so I started making classics.
That's horrible, actually.
Really? You don't like that?
Yeah, that's no good.
Classics? Oh my God.
That's no good.
Okay.
That's no good. That bores me. So when I'm at a rest, I don't like look around, talk to people. I go into like a smaller little world.
Yeah. No, personally, me too.
Yeah.
Other
And I
people-
like zone in super detailed to the rock.
Yep.
And if you've climbed Jesus Wept at the midway rest, like the big
Yeah.
rest,
Yeah, I know it.
there's a
With
little
the chain draw.
There's a little tiny mono, like
Yep.
pinky size mono, that's got chalk on it now. Last time I climbed the route, it had chalk all over it.
Yep.
And that never had chalk on it until actually my project was to up and down climb Jesus Wept, so I was stopping at that
Asshole.
jug. And
Why was
my
that your
little
goal?
just because I was at that crag with other people and
Okay.
running out of things to do.
Yep.
And
NBD.
so I zeroed in on that little mono and like played around with it, put chalk on it, and now it's got a bunch of chalk on it from other people touching it while they're at the rest.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. I just zone in to what's nearby.
Yeah, little things.
Yeah.
Totally.
Get out of your head. Stop thinking about how you're pumped.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And a lot of time, I mean, for me too, like I'm thinking about what's ahead. Like rests are really, really important for, I'm going to think about and I'm going to visualize what's right in front of me so that, when I leave, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly where my feet are going, where my hands are going, and I'm going to execute.
Yeah.
I spend a little bit of time about that.
That brings up a really good point and a good tactic for endurance climbs is to, when you're doing big links, to do them when you're really pumped. Because, take Transworld, for example.
Yep.
I knew I could do that mantle boulder up high really pumped because I'd done it really pumped. Even though you're leaving the rest, instead of just thinking, oh, I'm going to be fresh when I get there, or when I leave the rest, I'm going to be fine. Instead, I said, I'm going to do this really pumped because if I get to this rest one day and starting to feel like I'm not getting as much back as I want to know that I can do this next section pumped.
Totally.
You know, so put
Yeah, I mean,
yourself in that situation.
just for confidence, you know, as well, like being confident in what you're going to do, knowing that I've done this thing pumped before is huge for following through.
Yep. Yeah. So if you fall off, don't just assume that every single time you're trying to make a link, you should rest until you're fresh and then make the link fresh. Sometimes it's better to just make the links pumped.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing with one hanging is like, you know, you can one hang where you rest for 10 minutes, but then if you can back that time down at the same one hang spot, you know, then it's going to really help, you know, because you're still carrying that fatigue, that pump.
Yep. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, you and I have been building some things since you've been here. Injured, you grabbed a pocket, came to Lander unprepared, grabbed a pocket, hurt yourself. Now you're on the couch. Still sent. Yeah.
Didn't care. It's a weird thing to do.
And so we've been building this 8-week online
so excited about
group
it.
training Red River plan.
It's really cool.
And in the plan, you and I are going to be available in a group chat.
Coach mode.
You've got beta for damn near every rock climb in the red, and I've got better beta for a lot of them. And
that's fine.
and we'll be in there kind of coaching people through how to climb better pumped, you know, how to practice that, what they should be expecting in their sessions, and they get a week by week new set of workouts to do that builds on the previous week's workouts.
Yeah, it was really cool for me to, like, you know, this is the first time I've got to really work in the app and see the app and see how it all works and see all the work you put into everything. And it's been really, really cool and exciting. You know, it's like so spelt out, like so, you know, it's so easy to show up and just have your workouts in front of you and have, you know, these little like bits of motivation, or know that there's like, you know, that there's going to be these 25 other people doing the same thing that you're doing too.
Yep.
And endurance is so scalable that it's like, it's cool that we can create and work on this thing that, that's going to help a lot of people, I think, with their endurance.
Anybody from, you know, 5'10" or even a little below that up to, you know,
I think endurance
5'13".
it's really hard to keep pushing and keep doing more and more. I think a lot of people get complacent, and it's uncomfortable to keep pushing through and, you know, go from 5 to 7 to 10 to 15 minutes or whatever, like, but to have that workout and, you know, accountability is important. You know, it's cool. It's really cool. I felt like honored that we could work on it together and, you know, get to see it all unfold.
I think it's come together in a really cool way, and I'm excited to get the plan out there. We're gonna run it. Currently, we're thinking twice a year.
Yep.
We're gonna time it so that it's hitting the historical, or recent historical anyway, seasons for the red, so that you're prepared for the spring, you're prepared for the fall.
Yep.
Whether that's road trip or whatever, or if you're local. And like you said, there's going to be 25, maybe more in the future, other people doing it at the same time, and you can share motivation in the group chat and hopefully meet up at the crag and, you know, be able to climb together.
Community-based things, community-based training. I think it's really, it's exciting. It's really exciting, you know. It's cool to get to work with people. And
all those people know that they need to be patient belayers, because at this point they know what endurance is all about.
It takes time.
That's helpful to have.
It takes a lot of time. Yeah, totally. Patience is key.
Yeah, and people can find that on the internet at powercompanyclimbing.com/pump-prep, all one word. That's PUMPPREP.
Pump prep.
Pump prep.
Pump prep program.
And they can sign up for it there. Immediately when you sign up, you get a kind of a pre-pump prep program. That was good. Did you hear that?
You did it well. I can't do pre-pump prep program.
That was good. Planned pre-pump prep program.
Planned pre-pump prep program.
So you'll get that immediately, and then you'll have that until the plan starts. This first session is going to start on August 19th.
Yep.
So we're putting it out. It should, by the time you guys hear this, it should be out there on the internet. You can go check it out. You can also find Dru Mack on the internet. What's your website? You got a new website.
Yeah, I do. DruMackClimbs.com.
DruMackClimbs.com.
Yeah, DRUMACK.
Not DREW.
Not DREW.
You get angry at that. I've heard you blast that multiple times in the last few days.
Like twice? Once or twice?
Twice as multiple?
Twice as multiple. If you're looking at my Instagram handle and sending me a message,
and you spelled it EW.
and you spelled it wrong, you have no excuse.
Yeah.
But people spell your name wrong all the time.
Yeah.
CH.
I just don't even notice it anymore.
No, you don't care?
Nah, I don't care.
Really?
Yeah. But you are DruMackClimbs.com. You're also DruMack5 on the Instagrams.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can find us at PowerCompanyClimbing.com. Find the program at PowerCompanyClimbing.com/pumpprep. And we are at Power Company Climbing on the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Pinterest. Are you on Pinterest?
No.
Damn.
I heard about it. Yeah, I know. I just had a conversation with somebody about it the other day, so
See?
maybe I will.
People are checking for you on Pinterest.
Yeah.
What about Twitter? They
You
checking
can find
for you
me
on
on
Twitter?
Venmo. Go find my Venmo. Yep, I'm Andrew Mack on there.
Andrew Mack on the Twitter or on the Venmo?
On the Venmo.
Okay.
I don't have a Twitter.
Dru Mack has no Twitters, and neither do we, because we don't tweet. We scream like eagles.
This time, 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 power, this time to build power, this time to build power, this time to build power. 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 This time to build. 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 This time to build.